Yo, happy holidays, everybody. Peace. Mike is going to go live with Smerk from the Ready to Rock crew. This is going to be a legendary interview as far as I'm concerned, because this used to be Crazy Legs Prodigy, so we're going to talk about some history, some early days, Go Rocksteady crew, New York City, Las Vegas. So let's just wait for Smerk to come on. Smerk, request to join the video. Key Flavor, what's going on, bro? How you doing? Waiting for Smerk to join the live. No Holds Barred, how you doing today, bro? Smerk, request to join the video. Always good, bro. Yeah, thank you. Today I'm happy though. It's the day after Christmas. No Holds Barred. Thank you for tuning in though, bro. This is gonna be a dope interview. Yo, what's going on, Tristan? How you doing though, brother? I'm doing pretty good though, Key Flavor, man. I'm just excited about doing these interviews and just keeping the history flowing. I got a lot of people that I want to do, so it's gonna be pretty dope. So I'm just waiting for Smerk to hit the request to join me. Smerk, hit the request. There we go. Thank you though, Tristan. Man, I always keep it live. Boom. Yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me? Okay, I was like, yo, I'm not too Instagram
all right,
savvy,
though, bro. We
I
got
guess.
you in the year 2022. Yeah.
What's going on?
So, Smerk, we'll just jump right into it, though, bro. Introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are for the new followers that are watching.
Peace. B-Boy Smerk, Ready to Rock, formerly Rocksteady. I don't know what else, but B-Boy, graph artist, DJ.
That's good. That's it
father,
right there, letting everybody know. Somebody put, okay, B-Boy Smerk from the Boogie Down Bronx. You from the Bronx, bro?
Yeah, Boogie Down Bronx, originally born. I traveled a lot of places just because my pops used to be in the military. So at one point, I was a military brat, but we moved around for about 10 years, 12 years or something like that.
So yeah, can you tell me once again, how did you get the name Smerk?
It was back in junior high school. Everybody used to say that it looked like I was
he has a smirk on
smiling,
his face.
even though yeah. So back then, like they used to be this like the popular name was Smiley, and there was this kid Smiley, and I was like, nah, I don't want that name. And my boy was like, nah, from now I'm gonna call you Smerk. And all the girls were like, no, Smerk is cool, like so that that's how I got that name. It wasn't necessarily dancing related. But
so you got into breaking though. How was you introduced to breaking?
Breaking as I mentioned before, like my dad was he was in the military and we used to move around a lot. So I think it was like around, I'm trying to like remember the exact years because I was kind of young and you know, kind of like
Yeah.
going back and forth with my sister and looking at pictures, like classroom pictures. They put that 83. I was in
Oh.
California, right? And so I was in San Diego. We were on the Marine Corps base back then, Camp Pendleton. And then my aunt,
Mm-hmm.
she came down, right? And I'm not sure if she was just trying to get away from the city, or spend time with us. But she used to live in New York, and she used to be down with all that. So she used to be like, "Oh, these fat laces, and like these are, back then it was, I believe it was Puma that
Yeah,
she used to
Puma.
be like, yo, Pumas, and she used to kind of get us into it. But the person that she, got into it more was probably
Okay.
my brother and my sister. They were a little bit older, and so uh, I used to just kind of look up to my brother, and it was the excitement of following my aunt around. However, right after '83, we
Okay.
moved to Cuba in '84. So in '84 is when I really started getting introduced to it, because like everybody was doing it. Like I remember going out to the basketball court, everybody was breaking. I was just trying to like be a part of it, and my brother was breaking, and I remember to this day. He used to be like, nah, like, like, because he used to have to babysit me, so it was more of a pain in the butt for him. So I remember these dudes on the court, on the other side of the court, were like, dude, come over here and chill with us. And so I started breaking with them, because I was a kid. I was
Mm-hmm.
like doing whatever, And so we did this competition in the school, and like I won it, but it was because it was like, oh, look at that kid, he's so cute, But it wasn't, so that was my first exposure to breaking, and so it had to be around '84 because I was in school, and I remember going to this little party that they had in the gym, and after winning, they gave me like $20, and they were like, what are you gonna do with this money? And back then I was big on like, I want to get parachute pants. I want to get parachute pants. That's what they used to call it. Like, pretty much. So that was like my big thing. Like I want to get, they have these crisscross laces,
Mm-hmm.
like the fat laces. It's the crisscross.
Checkerboard.
Not crisscross, but like they had like little diamond shape. Checkerboard, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They had like a little design on it. So like, so I was all about that, like the neon colors and everything. So that was kind of my first
That was my
exposure
life.
to breaking.
Yeah, actually, that was my
mean,
life too, though, Smirk. Like I remember as a kid, like I remember the neon, the pink and the fluorescent green. Like those were like the hottest laces as a kid, though. And I remember parachute pants where you had the zipper on the side, so when you would zip, it would stick out puffy, though. And I remember fat laces and parachute pants.
Yeah.
That was the life, though, bro.
Man, that
Like
was the
everywhere you
joint.
went, everybody had zipper and parachute pants and a Michael Jackson jacket.
Yeah. I remember my dad had borrowed I guess his friend's car or something, and there was a tape in it, and it was a Michael Jackson tape. And we were like, oh, and like we kind of like taxed it. We were like, oh, and then we played all day, all day. If I'm not mistaken, it had that
Don't stop till you
song.
get enough.
I think it was the.
Beat It.
I think it was. It might have been
Beat It was Beat It blew him up though, bro.
Beat It.
Once Beat It came out, like it was in every car, and then he came out with the Thriller.
Yeah, Beat It was definitely. I think that was the joint right there, if I'm not mistaken. But we taxed that shit and we play it all the time, over and over and over and over, and like. But we used to, pretty much break on the basketball court and like, but there was a time that, because, we were in '84 to '85, and in '86 we moved to the East Coast, to North Carolina.
With you real quick, Smirk?
Now
in '86, breaking died in Cali.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of weird. Like when I went out to North Carolina, um, it was more about like it's
Yeah.
like I guess the MTV era, because like for me, because I used to be like in my friend's house, and it used to be a constant like you know how kids
Yeah.
go against each other, like, oh, like hip hop. Like for me it was like, you know, whenever I would see anything Run DMC, or like, you know, I used to be like, yo, you know, we hard. And they used to be like, fuck that shit. Like, oh, excuse my language, but they used to be like, forget all that, you know, like we all about this Metallica, and like, you know, you know, all the stuff that was going on back then as far as, you know, MTV, like the whole
Yeah.
pop culture, like the hair bands and all that stuff, you know. So I always used to kind of go back and forth with my friends, but we'd wind up listening to each other's music and so forth down the line. But there was a time that, you know, I wasn't really as in the breaking scene per se, but we used to go back and forth to New York because the way it is in the military, you know, like my pops used to get deployed a lot, and sometimes he'd be gone for 6 months. He'd come back for 6 months, you know, like we'd be back and forth. So we'd be up in New York, and we'd go back to the Bronx to live, you know, for months at a time, and with my grandmother, because my grandmother, she had you know, we had a big family. She had 9 sons and daughters, you know, together. So we used to go back. We used to, you know, it used to be crazy, you know, like all the cousins. We was like, oh, we used to be excited. And like I remember chilling in she used to live, my grandmother used to live in White Plains Road in the Bronx, and the train was right there. So like at nighttime, you wake up, train be going by with mad graffiti on it, like, oh. So it was crazy. There was like a delineation of like living separate lives, you know what I mean? Like I essentially was going back to North Carolina, you know, on the base, living the normal life, you know, and then we'd be going back to the Bronx, you know, and then we'd be exposed to everything else, you know, like what the Bronx has, you know. So my grandmother used to have a big apartment, you know, and all the cousins used to come over, and we used to be deep, you know what I mean? You know, like sometimes my grandmother would host living, you know, not just, hey, coming over to have pie, living. She would have like 20 or 30 people in the house, you know, like, and we'd be with all of us. So, I was always there with the connection to the Bronx, but we moved around a lot, you know. So, I was born in '78, so in '83, you can kind of do the math. I was that age, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and then by the time I went to Cuba, I was like, you know, I think if I do the math, probably about 6.
Yeah.
You know.
Smerk, can you? I never really heard the history to Ready to Rock. Can you explain that crew to me? And who started it?
So I'll start from my perspective, and then I'll branch out. You know what I mean? And kind of because it has like a weird history. Like Ready to Rock. When I first started breaking, Legs was showing me how to break. Now this is where I considered my breaking to have turned, you know, like serious breaking. You know what I mean? Because we had talked before, and you had mentioned, you know, you saw me in '93. I had like that tank top, you know, and I had the Zulu.
And you was popping. You was doing the popping.
I did the whole like to the floor, you know, moving around on the floor. So that was predated, you know what I mean? That was kind of like the delineation, but like after that is when I met Legs. About, you know, I think it was soon after that I met Legs and started teaching me. And so I remember when I met Legs, I had been going to Zulu a while because I was hanging out with my brother. So we used to go to Bronx
Yeah.
Rally. They used to have Zulu meetings, and so at first my brother was like, "Nah, like, I don't want you to go," but like my cousin, which I call my cousin, but he's technically a really close family friend. He was like, "Yo, let the brother live." You know what I mean? Like, let him come through. And so he was partially the reason why I was able to go. I call him, like I said, my cousin Phrase. He was like, "Yo, let the brother live." And so I used to go to Zulu meetings prior to that. I think it was like a year or two prior to that. And I had seen breaking exposed by legs, and so it was legs and wiggles. So I'm just kind of building it up a little bit because I could go on tangents, but and so somebody called them out at the end of the Zulu meeting, legs, and they started battling, and so I was like, "Oh shit, breaking's going on now!" Like, yo, and I started getting at it. You know what I mean? And that was right about the time that I went to the Rocksteady anniversary, and my boys were like, "Yo, you say you're gonna get down," and I was like, like I don't know, and I was like, I'll get down. So that's when I got down on that video, and then Legs started showing me afterwards the way he had heard about me, because I had met him, but I was just another kid on the side. He was like, he saw that video, from what I understand. This is from what I've heard on the other side. Like, it started off with Legs being like, "Yo, who's that kid?" Because I was like one of the, at least my age, who had gotten down, and they was like, "Oh, that's Madcap's brother," because my brother used to chill with Wiggles. So Wiggles came up to me and was like, "Hey, Legs wants to see you." So I was like, "Damn!" I'm thinking he's gonna throw me out of the Zulu meetings because Legs used to be on the council for the Zulu meetings. It used to be Legs, Wiggles, Fable, Africa Bambaataa, Africa Islam. Like there was a bunch of people that were on the council of the meetings, and I thought he was gonna throw me out, and so he was like, "Go see Legs." I was like, "Damn." I went and saw Legs, and I was avoiding him at first, but I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "Yo, I heard you want to learn how to break." I was like, "Yo, who told you that?" And he's just like, "Do you want to learn how to break or what?" I was like, yeah. But, because my brother used to be like, "Yo," he used to teach us like, don't jock anybody, you know what I mean? So I used to be like, yeah. So I started learning from Legs, and I came with my homeboy to his house, and my Legs was like, "Yo, I invited you, and you brought your homeboy. Like, I don't want people knowing where I live, like." So I was like, I told my homeboy, I was like, "Yo, like let me holler at you afterwards." You know what I mean? I'll get up with you because Legs lived not too far, like 3 train stops away. And so I started learning through him. And then whatever I learned, I was teaching my homeboy. Now, the crew that we had already was LSP, was a graph crew. So we had like a solid amount of people down already, right? And so we had a couple of people who were breaking in my crew that I was teaching, and we didn't really have a name. We just went under LSP, local. We used to call ourselves local spray plant painters. And so we met Bomb 5 because at the time we had been meeting a bunch of graph crews. Like we used to Bomb 5. Yeah, we had met Bomb 5 through my boy Way, right? Because my boy Way used to come through, and like on our block, they used to call it LSP land, right? Because like everybody used to come to our block. I'm talking about like mad crews, like graph crews. And we'd be like 50, 75 deep sometimes on our crew. So just chilling on the block, and as young as we were, drinking 40s, smoking blunts, as far like not me, but, but we'd be deep, and so they used to come from like different parts of the Bronx, And so my boy was telling me, man, you need to get a manager. Like, yo, you need to like, you know, try to like get established a little bit, because everybody back then was like, oh, you need to have a manager, like on that Mickey, like Rocky Balboa shit, like. So I was rolling with Rocksteady, teaching my boys, and then like some of my other boys were like, yo, this is Bomb 5. And so I met Bomb, and I was like, hey, what's up? And
No, I know. I
have you ever
heard his
met
name
Bomb 5?
before.
I don't know if you know. Anyway, he's like, yeah, what's up, B? And I was like, what's up, bro? And then so we started chilling. He was mad cool. And we used to practice in the buildings or on the street. So he was like, yo, you could come through my crib to practice, I have a space. So we started chilling with them, and he started talking about being a manager at some point. And so he was like, yo, I used to roll with this crew called Ready to Rock. I'm down to give you this.
Oh, you passed
that
on his name to you?
So we started pushing it. Yeah. So we started pushing the name, and we started, doing things from there on. So I want to say that Ready to Rock got established like in '94.
I have a question. Was Ready to Rock, was it a rock crew or a b-boy crew?
It was a b-boy crew, like, starting off. So like it as Ready to Rock progressed, it kind of like started leaning more in that direction. And the person who took it in that direction, the rocking side of things, was Phantom. And Phantom, I didn't meet Phantom until later in the 90s, because I met Phantom because I was chilling, and this girl was like, oh, you got to see these two kids. They're like mad cute. I was dating this girl. And this was kind of like the later side of the 90s. He's like, got to meet this kid. And so I was like, all right. So we were rolling, and I saw him breaking. He's like, those are those two kids that I was talking about. And I met him. I was like, yo, what's up? And he was kind of like just, learning how to break, but he knew stuff, So we started rolling together, and then, we asked his pops, like, hey, can we, have him come down to practice? But I was a super duper senior, by the time the 90s came. So we wound up in high school together. We wound up on the wrestling team together.
You and Phantom?
Funny stuff, but
okay.
Yeah, me and Phantom. So we became really close. He got down with Ready to Rock, and actually he was already down, but he didn't officially get down, because like I started implementing the whole like you battle to get down, and so officially I think he was technically down in 2000, but he was already down, right? It was just like, oh, make it official, you know what I mean? Like, so but he had been rolling with this already, like, and breaking already in the 90s as a young kid, but he couldn't really do as much because he was like, he was a little bit younger. But once I went to the military and I came back, I had heard, he was like, dude, I've been doing my thing. And so I was like, word, that's cool. And then he showed me some, like, oh yeah, you are doing your thing. Like, but he was, so, make a long story short, Ready to Rock started with me in '94. Now, as far as our generation, but the crew that had been established before that always been kind of a mystery, because there was like, oh, it's passed down a name, okay, like I didn't really know anything about the crew. And I came back, I think it was like later 2000s, somebody hit me up, like boom, like they hit me up on Facebook, or I think it was MySpace.
Yeah, it had to be MySpace.
I'm not sure, but it was like, yeah, it was like this dude, like videos hitting me, and he's like, yo, like, who are you? Like, you got this like whole Ready to Rock thing, and I'm like, it's like Smerk, Ready to Rock. Like, what are you talking about? So he started telling me, like, I'm Ready to Rock. So we start to chat, and then he was like, Tom had no right to give you that name, you know? And so we hashed it out. And so, because at first, like, it was kind of a heated debate, you know? I was like, what are you talking about? Like you telling me I'm not ready to rock? Like, but I said it don't matter anyway. Like, it doesn't matter what name you put on me. I'm Smerk, you know what I mean? Like, and like all my boys who dance, they, them, you know? Like, so when it comes down to it, you know, so, you know, you got to represent your crew, but you are who you are. You know, you're not who you are because of a crew. So we hashed it out, and he was glad that, you know, at least the name had been being pushed and being respected, and excuse me, and was being represented the correct way. And by that time, Phantom had taken, you know, was, I don't say head because we never made a leader of Ready to Rock. Our motto used to always be no head, no feet. That means that you are not the lowest person on the totem pole, and you weren't the head. You know what I mean? We're all just kind of like an interactive family, and no head, no feet.
When I first seen Ready to Rock crew, I seen Phantom and Vix and Taekwon. Those are the first three dudes that I seen when they were coming out to like the Mighty Force in San Francisco back in like 2005. But when I seen them, it to me it looked like it was like a rock dance crew though. You know, they were MZK and Ready to Rock.
Yeah. So without getting too much into, you know, because the fact you'd have to ask Phantom more of his specifics, because he started taking more of a like recruiting, you know, because Ready to Rock, as far as I was concerned, like in the 90s, was like either Family Ready to Rock, which Family Ready to Rock was like, you know, you could have been a graph artist, you know what I mean? And like, they were just down with us. Like, we would go to jams in New York, and then we wrote deep. So it's like, oh, those were Ready Rock cats, you know? And so a lot of people knew me because I was rock steady too. So Ready to Rock, rock steady. So I had gotten down with rock steady almost simultaneously when the crew got started, right? And so I know I got down with rock steady in the summer of '94, right? Because Zulu had a picnic, and Legs came up to me. I remember chilling at the time with my girl, and I was all dressed up. To me, you know, like I had my Reebok pumps, you know, and so Legs was like, "Hey, there's a Canadian crew here with, you know, filming. They want to see you get down." And so I was just like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, I got my new Reebok pumps. I don't want to mess them up." Legs was like, "Dog, just sit down, dog." I was just like, "All right, man." Like, and so I got down. I was like, "I'll just keep it simple," and I got down real simple. And Legs was like, "Did you just call me out?" I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" He was like, "Yeah, you just called me out." And I was like, "What?" Like, it kind of caught me off guard. And then Legs like, "Yeah, he called me out." And like the crowd started coming, and like, you know, there was mad Zulu heads. And next thing you know, we had like a huge cipher, and I was like, "Yo," you know, at first I was like, "What's going on?" But it was him calling me out, you know, to put me down with Rocksteady. And so I was like, in my head, I didn't know that. I was just like, you know what? Ain't nobody gonna try to play me. You know what I mean? Like, especially in front of people. I was like, yo. So we battled it out right there in the grass in Pelham Bay Park in the Bronx. And we battled it out, and you know, I had the crowd. I did have the crowd, but if I ever looked back on the footage, you know, I'm pretty sure that Legs probably smoked me. But everybody was like, "Dude, I can't believe you just beat Legs." You know what I mean? Yeah, because I had the crowd. You know what I mean? But they you know, people didn't have like the eyes to really look at B-boy, so I could imagine that I might have just had the crowd at that moment. You know what I'm saying? I did some funny stuff too. I did some character stuff. I was like, you know, I caught him at the right moments because I remember my boy was telling me, because to me it was a blur. You know what I mean? I was just like battling. You know, I'm just gonna go at it. So I remember Legs. He had squatted down. You know what I mean? And he was watching what I was doing, and I just happened to do a windmill and kick grass onto him, and everybody's like,
You got him.
"Oh!" You know, like going crazy. Yeah, like, well, it was the fact that the grass flew on him. You know what I mean? That everybody was just like, "Oh," you know, and then it was a crazy battle. But from there on, I was by the next year that you saw me, I was down with Rocksteady. It was the year that it happened in the rain. But I was like,
you was breaking with your shoes off. You was slipping and sliding all over the floor.
Yeah, I had my shirt off, and I was kind of like, I was real basic and everything, but you know, it depended. Like back then, if you caught me on a certain kind of floor, I was like, oh, you know, doing my thing. But yeah, I was down by then. I was the low man on the totem pole for sure. You know, like just kind of like still observing all the stuff that was going down with Rocksteady.
I want to give a shout out to Prevail. Prevail said you're one of the most slept upon b-boys in New York City. So I believe the same thing too, Smerk.
One of the most what?
He said you're one of the most slept upon b-boys in New York City.
Keep them sleeping, man. It's all good. You know what I mean? Like, just, stay on low. It's not my style to be like, oh, you know, out there in your face. Like, you know, there's a reference to that. Like, you know, I started doing like competition battles when I came back from the military. You know what I mean? And, you know, like the ciphering and competitions were two different, you know, worlds. I mean, two different mentalities, you know, and I was more of a cipher cat, but I remember saying, like, you know, I need to be there all aspects of b-boying, you know what I mean? Like, if this is the aspects that's going on right now, F it, you know, do the competition stuff. But it seemed like after I came back, and I came back from the military in 2004, and I didn't really start breaking on the scene again for at least a half a year, because I was like young with my family, just got back from the military, you know. But I used to still practice when I was in the military and teach heads, you know, breaking, you know. They'd be like, oh, I heard that you break. Like, yeah, I'll show you, you know, like, and sometimes we, you know, depending on wherever we went, like, throw down and get down wherever we were at. But getting back to what I was saying, like, I started doing competitions when I got back, and so people were like, yeah, roll with us, you know, do this, do that, you know.
A brother named Barney Trouble said, Smerk, I remember seeing you get busy at the point back in the day. Great memories.
Yeah. Legs used to throw these jams at the point.
Yeah, back in 98.
And so, somewhere around that time, give or take. And so I remember being like, depended, you know, like, because it was right down the block from me, you know, like about a couple of train stops. And so we right on down to the point in Hunts Point. I guess that's why they call it that. But it was like I don't know, it was kind of a community center. They used to throw something in, and it used to be ciphers and stuff, but then it gradually got into like doing comps. I remember, to me, those were some of the first comps that I remember experiencing in New York, because nobody was doing comps like that. You know, everything was like ciphers. Like you'd hear about something, and like you'd go. There was for me, it was not really about flyers. It's like you'd show up, they'd be like, yo, I heard something's going down. And you go to like a party in some sort of bar that had like a dance space, or back then I was fortunate enough to be let into the clubs because of who I was, you know. So I was young back then, and I was in the club scene. And so a lot of people were dancing, but they weren't in the clubs. You know what I mean? They weren't doing stuff like, you know, with all these older cats. Like, I used to like. I remember going a lot of places with Honey Rockwell. We used to roll together a lot. You know, Legs, Kenny, Flow. I remember Flowmaster. There was a time that Flowmaster was hard. Like, I don't know if he was living in New York or if he was staying with Wiggs or whatever. But we used to go a couple of places, but not too many clubs with Flowmaster, but with all the, you know, everybody else. And then, like, I had boys who were a little bit older who used to have access to the clubs that were more house music, right? So more raves. So I used to show up there, and they used to be like, "Oh, who is this little kid?" So now he's with us, you know, or like, "What's going on over here?" Like, down with Legs. All right, cool, you know. And so it was a little bit more lenient back there, as far as getting.
I have a question for you, Smerk. Did you ever used to battle Incredible Josh back in the day?
Incredible Josh, we had a battle in a competition. So we didn't battle necessarily in the cypher. We're actually pretty cool with each other, like, but at the same time, like, back then, it wasn't like now. Like, people be battling you just because they're like, you know what? Like, battle. Like, back then, if you battled, like, your reputation was like, you know, you held that on your shoulders, right? So when you were in the circle, you were like getting down like super hard, and a lot of times nobody really stepped to me, you know, like, be getting down super hard, and if somebody stepped to you, or if it was personal, you know, like, you would battle, but it wasn't really about like, hey, you know, like, let's just battle. So it was a weird thing to me when I moved to the West Coast and somebody called me out, and I was like thinking to myself, like, I don't even know this fool. It got me mad. Like, I forgot who it was, but I smoked the shit out of him. I was just like, I went off. And afterwards I was like, I was aggressive too. Like, people were like, yo, what's up with this fool? Like, and then afterwards, the dude came up to me and was like, yo, it was an honor battling you, Doug. Like, I had heard about you and like, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I felt like an ass. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh, okay. You know, like, I'm sorry. You know, like, I was talking that shit. I was, yo. Being mad aggressive. But back then, it used to be like, yo, you got down, and like, if somebody got too close to you, like, you went hard. And if you wound up in a battle, that's how it wound up happening. Like, you got too close to somebody. But Josh, we battled in the competition.
Smerk, when you moved to California, like, did you see Star Element's crew, like, when you first came out here? What, like, did you notice them though too out of all the crews in Cali?
First time I heard about Style Elements, was on the Ken Swift tape, because
Breakaway.
No, not Ken Swift. The 7 Gems tape. 7 Gems. Yeah. So no, was it Breakaway? No. It was the 7 Gems tape, if I'm not mistaken, where they were all getting down in the background in Vegas. So, because the reason why I say not Breakaway is because I remember Wiggs put me on this tape, and I didn't see Breakaway, like me, on the tape until recently for the first time. So I'd never seen that footage. And I kept telling Wiggs, like, hey, like, and he was like, yeah, I'll get you a copy, dog. But, you know, Wiggs is busy, you know. So I don't have it on me right now, but, you know, I'm going to get it to you, you know. And so I go over his house like, yo, whatever happened with that? You know, like, oh, yeah, you know. So it just became a thing, like, where I was just like, yeah, forget about it. And then I remember somebody posting it, and I was like, what footage is this? Was it you? Yeah. And then I hit you up, and I was just like, dude, I never seen this shit before, you know, like. So I'm excited to see my footage from back then, because back then, when I first got down with Rocksteady, you know, it was Wiggles, Fable, Kenny, Legs,
Flowmaster.
um, Flowmaster, Honey Rockwell, Burn.
Burnism.
Do you remember Burns? Burnism, Burns one. Anyway, I used to chill a lot with them, just walking around, talking or whatever, and going to the jams. And I remember Burns being like, "Yo, man, like, I hate when motherfuckers bring cameras to these they be trying to bite." And you're like, "Fuck that!" Like, and people would go up to Burns, and they used to like try to film him, and he's like, "Nah, fuck that!" Like, and he's just chill, like. And so I kind of took after him,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? In that sense. I used to see somebody with a camera. I used to shift my cipher somewhere else. You know what I mean? I used to be like, they're gonna bite or like, who knows what they're gonna use the footage for? They're studying it to battle you. So I used to be like, nah, I'm shifting it this way. So because I used to look up to all the folks in Rocksteady. Like I used to look up to Burns, he was dope. Legs, Kenny, everybody. So I used to like take in
Mauricio.
all that was being said, and like Maurizio, everybody, like shoot, I mean, dude, I remember, Easy Rock, shout out to Easy Rock. He was a big influence too. Like I remember him coming through the practices, and I thought he would be like, more stuck up, or whatever. He used to be like, "Yeah, what's up, man?"
Yeah.
I used to be like, "Oh shit," like, what do you work? He's like, "What are you working on, man?" I'm like, "So I'm trying to do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Well, that's cool." Like, but Rocksteady would be doing a lot of routines, getting ready for the anniversary. So if you were doing the routines, they were professional, and I didn't want to like, they're professional about practicing. If they were practicing, they were practicing for a reason. And so they would have the cipher afterwards, like after, the end of practice. But I would practice on the side always. And I had, I do routines, with legs, but I know that they were doing the main portion.
You know what? I remember seeing the footage of you is when, I think it was you and Pee Wee that went out at the Rocksteady anniversary on stage.
Pee Wee, yeah.
You remember that?
Big shout out to Pee Wee. Like, I remember. I remember when, because I guess Pee Wee had just gotten out of jail or something, and he was back on the scene, and he got down with Rocksteady. I remember the fat laces he used to wear. Now, it wasn't fat laces.
Oh, you know who Pee Wee I'm talking
laces.
about? Pee Wee from Miami. You remember when you guys, it was a stage performance, and it was a Rocksteady anniversary. Yeah, everybody had Rocksteady crew jerseys on. Japan Rocksteady was on stage. Honey Rockwell was on stage, and you was on stage.
Do you recall the year? Because was it when Japan Rocksteady came down in '94? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know
okay,
you're talking about
yeah,
Pee Wee Dance. This is Pee Wee from Miami.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Shout out to Pee Wee Dance anyway. Yeah. He had
Do you remember that?
Rocks.
When you and Pee Wee did like a little small routine?
I'll
put the footage up, though, I'll show you so you can see it.
Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, a lot was going on back then. I remember going to the '94 Zulu anniversary that same year, and I remember because Tribe Called Quest was there, and so and like I said, a lot of the footage that they had of me, like I've seen very few of it, because back then I didn't have the camera or whatever.
You know what it was? Is the footage that you might have seen online, everything that you've seen, it was me that was putting it up, because I kind of felt the same way too. Like you was Crazy Legs Prodigy, and I wanted to show that footage though. So that's the reason why you might see like little spurts of clips of you like here and there, because I started putting that up like around 2005, 2006, after YouTube. 2005
Yeah.
YouTube came out, so 2006 I started recording, but I was recording from a camera to the TV because I didn't have the equipment to make the digital transfer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I remember like if you had a camera back
Yeah, the
then, it
camera
was the
was
shit.
everything, bro.
Like,
I was the main dude. Actually, I was the only dude that was documenting Sty Elements footage before anybody had a camera. So like if you look back, I got a lot of footage from 94, 95, 96. And I was the only one with the camera though, bro. I was doing interviews with everybody probably as early as 94. The original
the
YouTube, bro. I'm the
the
original
original.
YouTube.
Yeah. I remember the only other person back then that I think had a camera, but he wasn't doing interviews. It was
Yes.
I think it was Mr. Freeze, because you hear him commenting. He was funny as hell. Like, oh, you know that fucking hurt.
I remember Mr. Freeze was like, oh, he's doing the flares. Oh, he's doing the flares. You must be from California.
I don't know if you remember one of the footages. He had Kenny tight. He kept doing. I forgot what he was saying.
Do the shoulder move.
Like, hey, do
the shoulder walk.
Do the shoulder walk. Do the shoulder walk. And Kenny was like,
yeah, bro. He was a comedian behind the camera. He kept saying that. Oh, these guys must be from California because they're doing the flares.
Yeah.
He was like, what's
the accent and everything, right? What is that? Yeah, sometimes the comments are classic, you know. But yeah, yeah, that's the only person that I pretty much knew that was doing interviews. I mean, not interviews, but like the video camera back then. And occasionally see somebody from the scene who had a camera, and you know, like I said, I would always shift over. Not that I was afraid, but like I said, you know, and you know, as far as like, because kind of like switching lanes a little bit, you had said, you know, I was Legs' prodigy, but in a sense, I was Rocksteady's prodigy. Because Legs did take me under the wing, but at the same time, I was taken under the wing by Ken Swift too. You know what I mean? Ken Swift had a huge part to do with the way I danced, and even Fable and Wiggles, because there was stuff that not, you know, they weren't necessarily like 1, 2, 3, da da da, or like, oh, this is how you do it. You know what I mean? But it was more like through the influence, you know, watching their style and everything, and taking it into the funnel and trying to make it my own somewhat. And so there was a lot of stuff that I did that was Ken Swift too, you know, like, and even Flowmaster, because he was down, you know, and Easy Rock, and but Legs had showed me, you know, like the 6-step and the top rock, and how to do a swipe, right? And so the way he taught me wasn't like what you would think either. When I went to his crib, he was like, let me see what you got. And so I remember he had a whole bunch of his homeboys over. I think Burns was one of the cats that was like up in the
back
crib,
in those days, like, he was rolling hard with Crazy Legs.
Yeah. And so I remember those like, go ahead, let me see what you got. And I started top rocking, right? And I was doing this funny top rock. I was like, and it was kind of tappy, right? And they were just dying on the floor. Like, you know, I think they were like, dude, sounds like a horse doing the, right? They just gigging on me, right? And so Legs is like, man, leave the brother alone. And he took me to the side onto the balcony, because he had like a balcony that, you know, off the side, because he lived on the 2nd floor. And he was like, here, I'm going to show you like some top rock so that you don't look like a fool, right? And he was like, all right, you cross your arms here and you do this. And I was like, all right. And then he was just like, I'll be back. And he'd be chilling in the living room, and he'd come back out to check on me. And I was out there like by myself. trying to like think about what he did, right? He was like, all right, I'm gonna show you a 6-step, right? And this the basic footwork. And so he did it real quick, and I was like, can you do it one more time? He's like, Doug, like I don't be, you know, he's like, I don't have time to do this all day. I'm gonna show it to you one more time. If you get it, you got it. If not, then like that's it. So I was like, all right, but hold on. Like do it a little bit slow. And then I remember having a pen, and I kind of drew like a quick stick figure. I was like taking notes, like they're writing fast because I was kind of nervous. You know what I mean? I just got there. I was just like, right over left or back. This goes back, and like associating things with like what they look like. Because like in the 6-step, like when you do the 3rd step, it looks like you're in a football stance. You know, so okay, football stance. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, cool. And so he was like, all right, you got it, cool. And then he went back inside, and I'd be practicing. And so he was like, all right, I think that's enough for today. Like, come back next week. Like, almost like threw me out like you know, like one of them shouting, come back next week. Let me see what you got, you know? And so I come back the following week, and I remember him being surprised, like, oh, shit, like, you actually doing footwork. Like, because I took that, and I'm talking about, like, lived it, slept it, you know, taught my boys it, you know? So it was just like, oh, shit, you doing footwork? Like, he's like, nah, I'll show you a freeze, and then, like, I'll show you, like, a swipe and everything, you know? And I took that home, and then, like, after, you know, another week, he was like, yeah, you can start coming through the practices. And he started telling me about practices, and I was like, all right. And I remember there was a spot they used to go to all the time. It's called Dick Shays. It was like, as long as you ain't like, you know, because you got to figure like a little kid that's, you know, junior high school, whatever the case is. You don't know how they're going to act all stupid or whatever, but he was just like, yeah, as long as you're cool, you know, whatever. So I shot up into practice. I just remember just chilling on the side when they were doing their thing. Cause like they would have ghetto original practice too. You know, like practices too. So, you know, that's that professional side of things. And they like, you know, like, and this was all before Jam on the Groove happened.
I remember that ghetto originals.
Yeah, and it was the build up, I think, to the, so I'd stay out of the way, and then at the end, you know, like, so, you know, jump into ciphers and whatever. But like I said, I was more of a product of initially with Legs, you know, but I was equally as influenced by all the others that were in Rocksteady who contributed. So, shout out, you know, like, shout out to else also,
Q Rock. You know who Q Rock is?
Q Rock, that's my boy. He's
What's up, Q Rock? How you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Yo, Smerk, I got a question. Another one for you. How did you feel about the battle between Rocksteady crew and Breaks crew? Like, for you, like, cause you was in that battle though too, right? It looked real personal.
So it was. I remember we were at the point for something, and Legs, the way it started was Legs was like talking to somebody. I mean, he was on the microphone, and he had something personal with somebody else in the crew. I mean, I'm sorry, not the crew. He had something a little bit more personal with somebody else, and I think I knew it was.
Can I
don't
throw
want to like throw it out there and speculate because. Yeah,
Chino?
Was it? No. Chino wasn't the one that he personally had anything with. What happened was he was throwing something out there that was subliminal, but it was obvious subliminal. And he was like, so, you know, so if you want to battle, you know, like, I forgot exactly what he said, but he was like, if y'all, you know, anybody want to battle, like, the floor is open. And then Chino just happened to be like the young cat in the crowd, like, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then like, and so it was Legs and me, and then Chino and somebody else that we wound up battling. And then like next thing you know, Legs like, yo, we're gonna form a squad together. Like, Battle
Too
Breakthrough. Like
Sweet.
it was a setup. Like
I
I
think I
remember
think I think it was
Yeah,
Too
Too
Sweet.
Sweet was part of it.
Yeah, Too Sweet told me
Yeah,
he was
but it
kind of
wasn't.
like
It wasn't.
getting on the Crazy Lake skin though, from what he told me.
I I know that it wasn't. Whatever was going on was not
Okay.
toward Chino, but like the way I saw it was like Chino was like, "Fuck it," like, you know what I mean? I'll battle you, like, you know. And
Okay.
that was my perspective. Their perspective might have been something different, but I remember there was somebody in the crowd, and you know, I'm pretty sure I think I knew who it was, and so you know, he was kind of like leaning
Hmm.
toward that, you know, and it was actually a surprise that it was Chino. At least it was for me. At least, you know, it seemed that way. You know, I don't know if he was like, if there was like something else like on, because the other thing is that, and I was kind of gonna get into it earlier, is that we used to do things at the point. Like I would show up sometimes, and sometimes I wouldn't, because like we'd be doing graph stuff and we'd be hanging out, and like sometimes if you know, we were doing like, you know, graph stuff, or like chilling, you know, back then we were like trying to be ladies man, like just trying to like hang out and go to parties and stuff like that. So I remember being like, are we gonna go to this jam, or are we gonna go chill at this party over here, you know? It was because they doing competition, and like it's not really going to be ciphers, you know. Oh yeah, like fuck that competition stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the way we used to look at it back then. Like you know, they doing that competition stuff. Like yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Like when, you know, we looked at it more like people trying to win money. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we trying to win money. Like, fuck that. You know what I mean? So I didn't go to all the. I think Lex was actually surprised that I joined the competition one time. He was excited, and that was the first time the first competition I did it against. I wound up in the semifinals with
Okay.
Incredible Josh. So that was the first, you know, but it wasn't like we were battling back then. I didn't really know Josh on like a super personal level, but we'd be talking, and I remember we'd be talking on the side because I admired, you know, his power, and he
Hmm.
admired my footwork and like my style. And we'd always talk about like, he's like, wouldn't it be crazy if we started like, you know, chilling together, and like we'd shock everybody. And we'd always talk about it, but we didn't necessarily like, you know, do it because, you know, he lived. I didn't even know where he lived, but I know he was, you know, somewhere in the Bronx, and I was on somewhere else in the Bronx. And then he was a little bit younger, you know, and I was already like doing stuff as far as like we used to hop the train, and like we used to be everywhere, like, and um, especially since my parents were like used to me going out at nighttime, like, and we used to like sneak out and do graph all the time and be up in parties all the time. Like there was a reason why I was a super duper senior. Like I wasn't like the good kid, you know what I mean? Like I graduated till 1999, and I was a lot older. They used to call me the super senior. And it's not because I was dumb, but it was because I used to skip out on classes, you know, go to hooky parties and be doing stuff. So, but more or less, like I used to like run into people more like came out. We
Oh
used to be
shoot.
out
Okay.
like doing stuff, you know. And so I remember came out, and I knew a lot of people were hating on him because he had like big moves, but he wasn't really necessarily like doing the style element of it. And we started chilling together, and he was like, you know, hungry, like super hungry for, you know, all that was going on. And so I remember we started chilling together, and he started chilling with Ready to Rock. You know, like I remember one day me and him and a couple other heads, we chilled in my boy Wiz's house for over a whole weekend and didn't come out. Like, we were just ciphering. Like, you know, I don't know if you've chilled with K-Mel, but it was like ciphering, then ciphering, go to the store, eat something, cipher for like 3 or 4 days. Like, I think we skipped school. Like, you know what I mean? I remember Teal coming to one of those sessions where it was like a 3-day session. Like, we'd just be practicing in the apartment. Just like my boy Wiz had the apartment because his pops used to be like, all right, you guys got this. He'd be off to work. And sometimes, and he was really cool, you know, with letting people over. I remember it was like a black carpet just getting like burns on our knees and stuff, you know. So I remember chilling more with K-Mel back then. And as far as like the younger cats, because there wasn't too many cats my age that I was chilling with. And the reason why is because we'd always show up to a jam, right? And I used to be the rock steady cat that everybody's like, oh, like, you know, like when somebody did something, oh, and then I would come in the cypher and they'd be like,
oh, yeah.
Ain't nobody wants to. Either they were like this, like, oh, what's going on? Or they were like, because, oh, that's that rock steady cat, you know, like that was my perspective. That, you know, like people weren't feeling me because, you know, maybe I was like that silver spoon, you know, B-boy. They probably looked at like, oh, you know, you rolling with these cats, you know, and there, you know, a lot of not a lot, like Legs was like the most loved and the most hated person back then, you know what I mean? Because you either loved him or you hated him. And so there was a lot of like not love for him, you know? But I remember coming back one year after I was done with the military, and I was chilling with Phantom. And so we're rolling in the car. He's like, yeah, I gotta pick somebody up. And so he picks up Too Sweet. I remember him pulling up and Too Sweet's there, and I was just like, the fuck? I was like, you picking up this dude? Like, what the? You know what I mean? And so he was like, yeah, Too Sweet's cool. And I was just like, oh, and then he got in, and it was just like this weird awkwardness, like quietness. And like, Phantom started driving, and then like finally Phantom said something like, what's up? Like, you know, blah, blah, yo, got Smerk back there. And then it was just like, what up, dog? And, you know, I was like, what up, Too Sweet? And so like, and then he was just like, yo, you know, it's been mad years, yo. Like we started talking, and he was like, yo, you know, like, we was our crew, you was your crew, you know, like, so, you know, of course we had to be like, oh, you know, but yo, I had mad love for you, you know, we always thought that you was dope. So at that moment, right, like, all that disappeared. You know what I mean? As far as like anything like that I might have had in my mind with the scene, I was like, okay, you know, like maybe there wasn't, you know, necessarily hating, or it was just kind of like, hey, you got, you know, we're doing our thing over here. You guys are doing your thing over there. But I used to be like, you know, people used to show respect. I'd come in the jam, like we'd say what's up to everybody, but it was never like the way it was, like everybody been like, oh, like we all over here, and I was over there. You know what I'm saying? And I used to be in the cypher all night, like, you know,
that's
be
crazy
breaking for hours, you know. And so that was a huge deal. Like, and I talked to a few people after I got back from the military, and it was like constantly the same. After I saw Too Sweet, I had heard a couple of other stories. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, nah, man, like, you know, not that we didn't have love for you, it's that you were chilling with the older cats or whatever. Like, there was always something. So I didn't know. So I always kind of looked at myself in New York as a loner. My age. You know what I mean? Like
What was your age
for
back
my
then?
age,
16,
and
15?
then yeah, like anywhere from, because if we're looking at 93 ish, 93 ish to like and on. So I was probably like
Okay.
14 or 15. I forgot. I was born in 78, so had to be
Okay.
like 15 or something, But I was a loner in the scene as far as my peers, but I always had people's. Don't get me wrong. Like I always had the crew, and I always had my crew. You know, and sometimes my crew would weather down a little bit, and then they would build back up because like certain cats stopped breaking. They wanted to more or less smoke and hang out, whatever, and then you had other people who were like trying to get it
Yeah.
more on the scene, like you know, uh, Ready to Rock was being built up, like it was kind of running parallel with Rocksteady. At one point, Legs was like telling me, it was like, yo, like you could use Ready to Rock as a recruiting, thing for Rocksteady. It could be like, the pre-stage to get down with Rocksteady, And so I had talked about it with the crew, and they're like, nah, fuck that. We don't want to be down with Rocksteady. Like, so a lot of the crew in Ready to Rock
Yeah.
didn't want to be down. And so they didn't want the crew to become a place that people went to because they know they could get down with Rocksteady. Also, they wanted to be a crew that was a crew. Like, we Ready to Rock, and we ain't trying to like house a bunch of different people trying to get down with this. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that. So there was, and there was a lot of people who saw it that way too. I didn't know this, but there were a few people that were like, hey, like if we chill with them, this dude Smerk is down with Rocksteady, like maybe we could get down. So and so he had mentioned it to me one time, Legs, and I was like, oh, I'll talk to them, and then we never talked about it again. So it's one of those unspoken things, like either you forgot about it, or he was just like, nah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like an idea, and you didn't jump on it, and so whatever. But at one point, he was talking about whatever, and Ready to Rock had a close relationship with people in Rocksteady too, because remember Ken Swift used to come to our practices all the time. Like he'd be like, hey, yeah, we chill, and then we get down. That one on that one scene on the Breakaway that I had seen that came out with me, that was my practice spot.
Looked like he was on Red Bricks.
The Ready to Rock practice spot. Yeah, it was like yeah, it's kind of weird. And back then we used to do power moves, right? But we weren't like, like we need a smooth floor and all this stuff. Like we would be like going hard with the footwork. So we didn't really need like a smooth floor.
Yeah.
Like that's the way we got down. It was just like, but we had thrown a couple of little jams in there too. Like it was called the Owen Dolan in Westchester Square. And prior to that, our practice spot was a place called Starlight Studio, which was owned by this guy called Mr. Melendez, rest in peace. But he was like big in the salsa scene. And so I had come across his studio because I had asked him, can I do your wall? And he was just like, yeah, like, what are you going to charge me? I was like, I told him the price. He was like, get out of here. Like, I can't afford that. And so he goes, well, can we work out some studio space? And we worked out studio space for like over a year. But then eventually, he was like, nah, y'all got to go because, sometimes we'd be in there deep and there was these small rooms and we'd be making mad noise and then people trying to work on salsa, you know what I'm saying, in the other room. And they're like, yo, these dudes are like a little rowdy, you know what I'm saying? We ended up breaking mirrors on accident. And
hey, Smerk, I got a quick question for you. Because I know you have to go to work soon. How much time do you have?
I should be getting ready like in the next 20
Okay.
to
Let me just hit
25
you
minutes,
with one
somewhere
more
around there.
question though, because I know like I got something to do too as well. I appreciate your time. Like now
Yeah.
that we went back to like the past though, like how do you feel about the scene today? Like what's your take on breaking today though? Because I have my opinion about how I feel about breaking, from the time that I seen it, because I got down. Well, I've been breaking since back in the day, but I came back. I got my name again in '91. So from '91 to right now, that's like 30 years that I've been in the scene solid. So I've seen it evolve from '91
Mhm.
to today. And how do you feel about breaking today? Yeah,
That's a loaded
because
question,
it's a
right?
lot though, bro. It's changed so much.
um, there's a lot. It's not the same, obviously, um, as when we were growing up, because when we were growing up, as you
Yeah,
could tell from the interview, uh, earlier in the when it came to competitions, I used to be like, fuck that, like we could be doing something else. You know what I mean? But coming back into it, in the 2000s, right? You kind of had to like, do your thing in the competition, and that became an element in breaking, right? Um, Breaking has um, separated itself, like rap did in the 80s, kind of went toward the right, and they like rap, they're trying to make them money, breaking's trying to make their money. And so you know the, I appreciate the scene today because it's still going. Do I wish it could be a little bit more like back in the days? Yeah, because back in the days, it was back in the time that I grew up, I was exposed to it more as a unity in hip hop, because I would go to the jams, and I remember the Rock Steady anniversaries. He used to be like, you had to plan your weekend out. It's like, oh, like you got the DJ battles going on over here, right? And then after that, like, if we get there early enough, we could see Doe's doing the wall, in the Rocksteady Park or whatever. Um, you know, they have the MCs, like they would. I remember like MC battles going on simultaneously with circles. You know what I'm saying? Like they used to be right next to each other. So if you wanted to break from the ciphers, you just boop, turn around, and then you'd be like, oh, like. So, do I wish it could be more, unified like that? Yeah. It might be different in Europe. I'm not, I haven't been over there, lately. But and it seems like you can't get people to go to your jam unless there's a competition and there's money involved. So that kind of sucks, you know. Um, in that manner, it kind of sucks that there has to be a competition, right? It sucks for for me, but I appreciate it. So like, you know, it gets people, trying to get on a different level.
can,
Um,
can I add something to that? Okay, the way,
yeah,
from me understanding what you're saying, the difference that I know is between back then and now, that graph came along with breaking. Every time I went to a b-boy competition, there was always somebody with a black book. Breaking and graffiti came together
yeah,
though,
I
bro. There was
remember.
nowhere that you couldn't go and you wouldn't see nobody that wouldn't have a Sharpie or a pilot or mean streak or something like that. And I feel like the fashion was a big thing too. When you go to the gym, everybody was dope. Kangos, matching sweatsuits, gazelles, jean jackets with pieces on the back. Now when you go to the gym, it's maybe some sweats, a tank top, some old shoes, and I'm just thinking like fashion was like a huge part of breaking, though. It's always been from the 70s, 80s, and the 2000s.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of weird in that aspect too, because when somebody fresh got down, he's like, oh, and most of the time the person who was doing the breaking, who was fresh, I mean, doing the dope breaking was dressed fresh, and I think that it's slowly people who came to the gyms like bums were the people breaking dope.
They didn't care
and
about
so
the fashion part.
It
they
was
just
like,
cared about actually winning the money.
Yeah, and like I said, it became more like, hey, like, I'm trying to win this money. Let's go to this jam, and so that's one of the only parts that kind of sucked to me. But I've been to dope jams that are competitions. You just gotta, like, make your way into to like, or try to build a cipher somewhere. But yeah, it used to be everything. Like they used to be everything going on. And so it was a hip hop scene, and so it's funny that there's some people who haven't experienced
Wicked.
the hip hop scene. Or
shouts out to Wicked. What's up, Wicked?
Yeah.
I need to get you on here too, Wicked. if you watching, though, brother, I know you are. Sorry about the smirk, but I'm trying to get Wicked too as well, because Wicked has a dope story too, though, bro. And I want to talk about, like, when he was down with Rocksteady.
Yeah.
That tripped me out when I knew Wicked was down with Rocksteady Crew.
Yeah. We were down together. Wicked and I remember we went to Seattle one time together to judge this competition. I think it was Seattle. It was me, Flowmaster, Wicked, Flow Rock. And the funny thing is that back then, Jaromski, he was competing in that competition that we judged. Like, he was like this young dude that was like, oh, I heard about some dude in Seattle. He's pretty dope. He battled Caveman in the final.
It was crazy because Caveman smoked him, though, bro. He took off his shirt and he did the Mexican jumping beans on his shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, it was a good battle, though. Like, I remember.
He got tired, bro. He got gassed out.
Yeah, but it was. Teal was there, I think, too. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, Teal was there too. Because Teal, he was down for a short time, but he was down with Rocksteady. Well, of course, because you can see it in the break, the breaks crew, battle, whatever. But not to mention, because you were talking about if it was personal, Breaks crew, a lot of them cats learned from people in Ready to Rock. There was a dude named Steve that taught breaking to cats that were in Breaks crew. And so initially we didn't know, but, a lot of them cats learned from Ready to Rock. You know what I mean? So funny point that, how it.
So how many people's in Ready to Rock today?
But, man, I haven't really sat there and put the numbers, because, like, we got people who are like more of like a family Ready to Rock, or used to breaking Ready to Rock, because I don't believe in throwing people out. So the only way you get out of Ready to Rock, because if you get put down, is if you decide that, like, I'm not going to represent for some reason, you don't like what's going on. So it's kind of and Q Rock, you saw him earlier. He's more involved directly with what's going on in Ready to Rock right now, because he's trying to make moves, and he's trying to, like, put the business to the forefront of Ready to Rock, also along with Phantom. So, and they trying to do music stuff, but I don't know the exact numbers.
Okay. Well, Smirk, I just want to say thank you, though, bro. I know that we can go on and keep going. I think we already spoke at least over an hour.
Yeah. I get accused of talking too much.
A lot of people appreciate it. People on here, they popped up and they gave you your flowers. and that was the whole point. And I wanted to be able to do that, you know, just to share your story, because I've never seen a B-boy interview with you. I don't even think there's one up. Is there? On YouTube, to be honest?
I think there was like one or two, but they, you know, they asked me like a few questions here and there.
Yeah.
Probably like snippets or whatever.
In depth.
But nobody else ever asked me to tell my story.
So that's the reason why. That's the reason why I wanted to do it. And this is actually our first time even introducing, being introduced to each other too as well. Because I've never met you in person.
Yeah, same likewise, because I used to see all the videos that you posted up. I remember, I don't know if you remember, as soon as you posted that, I was like, oh my God, dope. Like, I can't believe you know, you have the footage, and I was super grateful to you for, you know, tagging me in.
Everybody knows, bro, like I'm the master of the tapes though, bro, just because I love breaking so much. I wanted everything though, bro. I got practices, like I said, of the Bronx when you was mad young, and like a lot of the footage is from Mr. Freeze's camera though, bro, but somebody got it to me.
There used to be this jam in the Bronx, and not to, like, you know, extend it past, but hold on one second.
I know.
Kids be coming in. Anyway, there used to be this jam that I think New York City Breakers used to throw. I don't know. It was London. He used to throw a jam back to Mecca. That's what it was. And at first there was a little like give about the name, because they were like, you know, there's a lot of Muslims in B-boying, but it used to be a huge, like, at first there was a lot of like controversy for that, but I used to go to that jam, and they used to have like videotapes everywhere, like video cameras everywhere, and I think London had a bunch of footage from because he kind of threw that jam. So, I'd like to see some of that footage.
London, though, bro, and see what he says, because I'm sure he has it, but sometimes people they probably don't feel it's a priority to share it, but I feel like it is, because certain people's getting to that age though, bro, where it's kind of like you need to start doing something with that footage, you know, because once you pass away, you know what I'm saying? Like all that history, even when Frosty passed away, Frosty, I heard he was a master of cassettes though, bro. I heard he had like ridiculous amount of cassettes.
I remember that Frosty always used to have
a yellow camera
of some sort on him. He had like some sort of like,
it was a yellow,
either the throwaway cameras or like the regular. He had so he always be like, yo, Smerk, dog, like, what's up? Can you take a photo of me, dog? What's up? And I used to be like, yeah. Or he used to be like, I'm saying though, you haven't even said what's up to me all day. I was like, I just got here. He was like, I'm saying though. I used to be like, what's up? You know, like, what's up, Frosty? So yeah,
all right, man.
He was a cool dude.
Thank you once again, Smerk. Like I said, I appreciate it. You know, I'm gonna put this stuff on my YouTube channel, so if you want to go back and watch it, you know, maybe you might want to share it, you know, and everybody's gonna be able to see it, you know, and I hope that I can run into you soon. You live in Reno? Oh, you've been in Reno. Okay, I went to Circus when I was a kid. Maybe I was like 12 years old. Is that still around?
Yeah, they still have the Circus. They have it over here and in Vegas. Casinos,
So I got your contact, Smerk, and you know, 2023. I think I'm gonna finally start traveling more, because I feel like hip hop is turning 50 next year, August 11, 1973. So I'm excited for that. For me, I'm like a pioneer though, bro. I blaze my own trail. Like I don't need like I just like, when I get hype, I get hype. So for me, the 50 years, to know that the B-boy's been around 50 years, for me, that's like, okay, let's see what's up though, Mikey. Let's put it down though, bro. Like, I've always put it down, but I say, you know what, just for hip hop, I'm gonna start going places though, like a lot though, because in the 90s I was at everything. Radiotron, Best of the Best, Mighty Fort,
Mighty
bro. bro. I was
Oh
there all the
yes,
time, though,
love
bro.
that.
And I kind of chilled on that because I started noticing a lot of change, and you know, your priorities change when you start getting, you know, to a certain point in life. Though you're not a kid anymore, you know. But I feel like hip hop
Yeah,
is turning 50,
nah, I
so
feel
for
you.
me, it's like that's a huge point because I didn't think that I would be breaking this long, though. To be honest with you, like when I first seen it, like how you said back in the '80s, it died, and when it died, we all quit. If you came to school and started breaking, everybody would be like, "What the fuck you doing, bro?" Like girls was laughing at you. Oh, he got his pony jacket on, his Puma. Oh, you got the pony. People would make fun of you. People would get
Yeah,
on
even
the ground and spit
even in
on
the
their knees, though, bro,
early.
and everybody would just start dying, though, bro. So it was a mockery. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, what are
bro. You
you
couldn't come to school
doing?
with the
Yeah, I
Puma
remember
sweatsuit,
like,
though, bro. People was like, what the? Because Fila was in. Fila replaced Adidas on the West Coast. You know what Fila
yeah, yeah,
stood for
yeah.
in LA? Finally, I left
Nah,
Adidas.
yeah.
Yeah, bro.
That's
So
funny. I didn't
that's
know
why if
that.
you was on the ground, though, bro, either you was getting beat up or you was getting laughed at.
Yeah,
Let's
talk
see.
about the sneakers, dude.
Oh man, you got the shoe cleaner. Dang, bro. Yo,
Yeah,
I got a
I
shoe game
definitely,
too, though, bro. Flo Rock know what time it is. We was comparing Pumas, though, bro. I brought out the classics on them, though, bro. I got a sneaker collection too. All b-boys have it, though, bro.
yeah.
The real b-boys
So,
like
like, shout
yourself,
out to All
baby.
Right.
We know that. Like I said, fashion is straight up, though, bro. Like you cannot be a b-boy and not have a sneaker collection.
Yeah, I know, right? Right? Because then we used to have some joints like where we wear the kicks, you know what I mean, to the jam, and then we switch out and be b-boying, you know what I mean, like in the other ones. And if they got too crazy,
Yeah,
switch out, you know. You know, used to switch out of gear a
Ivan
lot. I remember
and
Easy Rock
Ivan.
used to switch out. Like Ivan, yeah. I
We
remember
could
the
talk
first time
about
I met
that
Ivan.
on part two,
Funny
though, bro.
story. Yeah, dude.
Because I know
Yeah,
we'll go another hour, bro.
that
You're
boy
gonna be
could
late
eat
for work.
when I met that
The
fool.
baby's gonna be outside the doormat, so we gotta go.
Yeah, I feel you. Yep.
All right,
All right, brother, man. Much love. Thanks for reaching out to me. Like you know,
got
reaching out
you,
to the
bro.
forgotten. You know, and I'm still here though. You know, I'm still
Okay,
breaking. You know, I'm still teaching. You know, it's that b-boy lifestyle. You know, like uh, even though you're doing professional stuff, you never really. I mean, look at my room. You know what I'm
is that
saying?
the spare room or is that your room?
You know, thing. No, this is
Dang,
my
bro, you
office.
got
You know
all
what
the
I mean?
posters still.
So yeah, I mean, you know, like I got military stuff. You know,
Books.
I got like you know, black books and stuff. Like yeah, back in the days, I this is this was
Dang.
my study book right here because like Wiggles wound up, you know, doing Wiggles and Fable wound up doing like this is
Oh, okay.
a Smerk piece that Fable did, you know, and um, this is the style that I was rocking back then.
Oh,
It's like
nice.
93,
Okay.
94, something like that. But hold on, let me show you
All right.
some real quick before I let you go. Because uh, Wiggles was doing stuff. Bomb 5 did stuff in here. Um, but this
Okay.
was like my learning book, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't necessarily that I was, you know, biting anything. It was more or less like, this is a Fable. I don't know.
Oh,
Wiggles
yeah.
did
That's
his wife's
nice.
names. Um, I'll show you some Bomb 5 stuff just to kind of give him a shout out. Oh, this was another
Okay.
Wiggles piece right here. All right. And then shout out to Bomb 5, by the way. my boy Sham
Oh,
taught me
okay.
can control. Yeah. Where the hell is that bonfire piece? Oh, is this it? Color Fable piece.
Yeah.
He did my name. Yeah.
If you can't find it, you can show it to me next
Was it
time.
in this one? Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, for sure. But yeah. So I got
That's
mad
tight
old
though, bro.
stuff in there.
Bro, that's what it's about though, man. Bringing back the good memories. All right, Smirk.
Yeah. All right, bro.
Peace to you though,
Peace
brother.
and love, man.
All right.
All right. Cool.